Hello and welcome to the Arsenal BiteSize Podcast. I'm your host Clayton at ClaytesAFC on Twitter, and I'm joined by my co-host Nima at FPL Nima, and we're here to review the big one. We won 3-1 against Liverpool, and we actually celebrated, and we're getting fucking annihilated for it. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm so buzzing for this, man. Obviously, a little bit disappointed. City beat Brentford last night, but I think
Oh,
it would have
fuck
been
it. Who cares?
optimistic. Yeah, it would have been optimistic to expect their strongest team, everyone fully fit, to not win. But I'm celebrating this win. It's massive for us. I think it was just the domination we showed. I was very happy to see. Like, there was very few moments that I felt scared, apart from the start of the second half briefly. But yeah, I even watched it out in a pub with some friends, and
Okay, nice.
yeah,
Bet that was
normally
good.
I'd be too scared to go out and watch a game like Arsenal Liverpool.
Are your friends Arsenal fans or?
Yeah, I was with some
Okay.
gooners. We tried to invite a Liverpool friend, and he ghosted us. Now we know why. It sounds like
Fine.
he was scared going into it.
Yeah, it's interesting, like the kind of narratives doing the rounds, right? Like so obviously we spoke about it on the preview, right? And I think we were both a little bit like 50-50. I think we both predicted wins, but I wouldn't say either of us were like gung ho, like, yeah, we're 100% gonna win. But obviously I was fortunate enough to be there, right? And like I think that's my favorite match this season in terms of atmosphere and just the vibes around the ground and just in general, like if I can kind of set the scene for people that weren't there, like so it was 4:30 p.m. kickoff in the UK, right? And I got there early doors. I met my mate for breakfast, went to a cafe on on Holloway Road. I think we met at around half 10, 11 or something. So like full English down your stomach, like you've lined it, you're ready for you've like lined your stomach, ready for the pints and everything, and you could just feel there was like a nervousness in the air, and I think there was this whole narrative around. Well, it wasn't a narrative. I tended to agree with it. I think we both said it. If we lost it, the title was done, right? And I think you
Mm.
could kind of feel that nervousness in the air as you were walking around. And then fry ups in, settled, and you go to the pub, you're having a few drinks. We caught the end of like Middlesbrough against Sunderland, then Man United. Who were Man United playing? West Ham, and then like you kind of easing the nerves, a few drinks, and as the chat is going round, I think people are like growing in confidence. And I don't know if it's like the alcohol talking, but there was definitely a correlation with like people's confidence compared to the amount of pints they were sinking and stuff. And as it was getting nearer and nearer to like an hour before and lineups being announced, I think the general theme around my circles of people I was hanging around with was I don't see us losing today. And I think it was just a case of like it's our home. And I think people have forgotten how good we can be as we shown on Sunday. And like we'll get into it, but just that honestly, I'm struggling to put it into words, the feelings of that day in terms of like going for breakfast, having a few drinks in the pub before, going into block 6 in the North Bank before the game, because that's where like if you see videos doing the rounds on TikTok and like we've sometimes posted a few of it, that's kind of the area where everyone congregates. Other than in the clock end, it's in the North Bank and everyone's singing. There's people on shoulders. It was someone's birthday. He had a badge on, and the atmosphere, it just set the tone. It was completely different to any other home game this season, and it translated through. I don't know if, like, when you were in the pub, if you could hear it, if they had the commentary on and stuff, but the atmosphere was fucking insane. And like the Angel, the way everyone got behind that, it just set the tone, and that atmosphere was absolutely raucous. But yeah, just unbelievable day. And like we'll get into the game, but before we do that, just shout out a few of the guys that are in. Got Uncle Mike's in. Morning, lads. Hope you're good, mate. Let's in go. Got the EFL Fantasy Podcast in. Morning, lads. So that's Angus McPhail behind that. Who I've been
Nice.
chatting to a lot over the last few days. So I'm sure he's tuned in because he wants to hear a Nima rant about the celebration police. Uh, Bungles in. Clayton, you scoundrel. Above me in the FPL bloody bite-size league. How'd that happen? Am I? I had a unbelievable week, to be fair. I got 98 points. And fucking Uncle Mike's in. His team got hacked. And then, yeah, just a couple more comments. Uncle Mike never felt like they would score really. Bit edgy after half time. And Bungle, the Tokyo Liverpool pub is 5 minutes away from my gaff. Walked past early doors and saw very few sad lads in there. Loved that. And then just before we get into more, Delia's in. Hope you're good, mate. Oh, this is really early morning, lovelies. So without further ado, on to the game. So lineup comes out. You, I think that's what you predicted, right? Or did you go for the Havertz midfield?
Yeah, I went Havertz midfield. I think if I'd known Jesus was an injury doubt, I would have probably gone with Havertz up top
Would you?
rather than
Yeah.
Eddie. Yeah, I felt like his performances against the kind of the top teams and the teams that press a lot, like when we played City in the Community Shield at the start of the season,
Yeah.
have it up there. I thought that was one of his better performances. So yeah, we'll talk more about him individually, but I think this week more than any shows that these apps with the kind of player ratings can be pretty misleading.
Yeah.
What I saw with my eyes was Havertz's best performance at the club.
Yeah, same. Do you know what? It's such a good point because obviously we use this graphic just to kind of illustrate the lineup. But fucking hell, I didn't actually look at the ratings. Like, that's embarrassing. So for
You know what
context,
it came
anyone,
to? Yeah, so the
yeah,
reason, so 6.8, and obviously like for the podcast listeners, as you say, but the reason it's like that is because of the sheer number of things he tried to do. So let's say if
yeah,
he only attempted one duel or one tackle or one pass and he happened to get it, he would have like an 8 rating, even if he played for 5 minutes. But because he, like, let's say, lost 8 out of 16 duels, it
it
kind of
affects it
counts them as
statistically.
bad. But what it doesn't
Yeah,
look at is that if you watch it with your eye, these weren't duels he was looking to win. These were
yeah.
duels where he was trying to wind up the opposition centre backs and have
He
them
was
make
just
a
a
poor
nuisance.
clearance. Yeah. So
He
that
was
poor
every.
clearance then lands to our players. That's kind of,
It's
you're not
funny
always
because
trying to win the ball with every duel
yeah,
isn't,
I get it.
every header isn't, what was he going to do? Jump up, head it down, and then
It's just to create
you
havoc,
can't do anything.
chaos, right? And I think it's funny because that's everything people praise Nunes for, and they're like, "Oh, like we hope Nunes is fit because of the chaos he provides." But it's like Havertz did the same thing, and if not better, right? And yeah, just like going through the lineup when. So I obviously predicted Jorginho would start, and I still think he would have done it regardless of if Jesus um, was fit or not. Just I think that's now how you spoke about Havertz in big games. I think this is our big game midfield. Um, and the two of them, Jorginho and Rice, they were absolutely phenomenal. Like I just because again we spoke about it in the preview, right? And I know you said sometimes like not sure about Jorginho and stuff, and I just feel so assured in these games when he's there because of his ability to control everything. And I think it brings out the best in Rice as well. He can be that powerhouse. Like there were a couple of times where he was actually driving with the ball running through midfield and as well as doing his kind of robotic tackles that he does where he gets a fourth leg. Um, yeah, unbelievable performance. I just thought, and this is like, I know we usually talk about like standout performers and stuff, but I just thought everyone was so good. I don't think anyone had a bad game. I think Saliba was a bit rough in patches, which we'll talk about. And even that's being harsh. Like, I think he had one uh, error, which obviously led to a goal. But other than that, I think everyone was just spot on. And it's what we said in the preview again. When teams come to play us, we are so good. We'll kill most teams. It's just unfortunate. I think people have forgotten how good we are because we're faced against a fucking bus every week, which I don't think I've ever seen other
So I
teams have
think
to
I
deal with
saw
so
some
consistently.
data. Yeah, I saw some data someone said online that we on average face the deepest blocks in Europe, like
Yeah,
of any team. Like there's no team that faces deeper blocks on average position on a pitch than us in the entire continent.
yeah.
So when
It's
you get a match like this, as you say, you get to actually play an opponent who comes to play ball. Now I've seen a lot of people saying Liverpool were very poor, but I think we made them poor.
100%. I don't get this. I've seen the same thing, and like
Yeah,
a few of my
it's like, oh
Liverpool
yeah,
support.
like fair play to Arsenal, but Liverpool, it was their own demise. They were really poor. I'm like, there's a reason they were poor. They just come from
We
like
didn't give them a
free
sniff.
firing, like they've been scoring bucket loads for weeks. Like, they're on the high of, Klopp send off. And I'm sorry, but like they came into that match pretty confident.
Yeah, and I really think that suited us. I think the onus was kind of on them as favourites, and I really think that suited us because, like I said, I think people have forgotten just how good we are. And are you good if we move on to the match stats? And because I feel
Yeah,
like we'll
yeah,
kind of
because
cover
we'll cover the players as we
we'll
go.
cover the
Yeah.
players as we go. But what made me want to bring this up is Liverpool were reduced to 0.41 expected goals. So for people on the podcast, the visual I've got on the screen right now is obviously what we use every week. It's from Mark, our stats model, and there's a big discrepancy in XG on this model versus the others. But just for the sake of consistency, we always use this one. So I thought I'd go with it. But the stats, according to Mark, our stats model, was Arsenal's XG 2.15 to 0.41. I have seen other models saying we had 3.51. So I think there's a lot of stuff around like Havertz's chance and what was the other one? Martinelli's goal. Expected threat 1.4 to 0.92. Possession, they had 57.4. We had 42.6. Field tilt against one of the best form teams in the world right now, 60.8 to 39.2, and defensive action height even. But I'm just going to do a bit jumping around here. So they're the stats, right? And obviously XG, we've seen 2.15 and 3.5. Look at this one as well for people on the screen. So the visual is it's not the clearest to process, but for the text that goes with it, Liverpool registered a season low expected goals, expected threat, and deep entries against Arsenal. Now, you cannot fucking tell me that that's just a team playing poorly. That's a team playing against one of the best organized sides in the world. And I stand back, like I've said this so consistently, we're one of the best teams in fucking world football. We really are. And it's just a shame that because we're up against buses every week, we don't really get the chance to show it. But statistically, on the eye, everything, this was domination. Like, I was so gutted at half time because I felt so comfortable that whole first half.
I was going to
How were
ask
you
how
feeling?
that felt for you. Yeah, because when that equalizer went in and the nature of the way it went in with the kind of own goal, like I felt so frustrated because it felt like we could have scored more before that equalizer. And I was worried that the timing of it might rejuvenate them to come out. And they did come out. They switched up tactics a bit. I remember I was sitting with my friend and I said to him, like we're going to be waiting for them to make their subs. Obviously, I was surprised by the Kivior sub at halftime. And I think as Angus
It was
says, like a
injury
mention
related.
for Kivior as well, because it was injury related, but he came on and it felt like he played the
Did
kind of
really
the
well.
Tomiyasu role very well. And
Could have,
like I
should
was
have
very
scored as
happy for
well.
him.
He could have
I
taken
know
the
the
touch,
way
done
he
10
popped up,
kick-ups.
the way he popped up in the box for that shot. Oh my God. I was in disbelief it was him there running in, but yeah, fair play to him. And I thought he did very well, but yeah. So apart from that, I kind of thought, okay, so something's changed here. What's going to happen? And around 57th minute, when I saw Trent coming off, I was like, okay, something's a bit strange here. I know he's not quite back at match fitness. But I remember saying to my friend at that time, I said, okay, so in about, I think I said to him, we're going to need to wait at least 5 to 10 minutes. And then we're going to like see what they do with these subs. And then we're going to reflect on it and change it up. So yeah. And then literally like we got to the 67th minute, 70th minute. And I was like, okay, let's see what Arteta's got. And I know over the year, he's been criticized a lot for his in-game management, but it felt like he did everything right. From weathering the storm when we came out in the second half, despite their equalizer, all the way through to the subs he made at the times he made them. Like seeing Saka actually get subbed off when tired as a precaution rather than being taken off on a stretcher later. I've never seen that before. Equally, Martinelli looked frustrated to go off after he'd scored this, the goal to put us 2-1 up. But again, like, fantastic. What can you say? Trossard came on and did the job to wrap up the points. So it just felt like one of those games where I was like, wow, like my manager has matured here. Like he got every decision spot on. Like from the starting 11 through to every in-game management moment, this was flawless. Like, and I was like, wow, like I haven't seen that very often. And to see that against Liverpool, wow.
Yeah, I my opinions on him. Like I tend to be on my own quite a lot when I see criticism of him, and like even in-game management, I personally don't think he's bad at that. I think we get hung up on like 1 or 2 minute differences in subs and stuff, but I think tactically he is one of the best around, and like this game just felt like the showcase, and that's what I loved about this game. It was 4:30 on a Sunday on the telly. The whole fucking world was watching this, and this made me so like I've spoken consistently, right, about being quietly confident about what we can do in the Champions League. These sort of games just add to my belief in what we can do there. Am I saying we can win it? No. Sorry. Yes, I think we can win it. Am I saying we will win it? Probably not. But I back us over 2 legs against most people. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked.
I
Let's
was going to say what this match did show me just on that point you
Yep.
made is that it felt like this was like a Champions League performance. And if we can play like this across 2 legs, as you say, in Champions League matches and the knockouts,
We'll
then I
dominate
have a lot
teams,
of
man.
optimism. Yeah, I have a lot of
Yeah,
optimism.
we will absolutely dominate teams. But
I
yeah,
would
looking
love to get further, but yeah, we'll talk about Champions League when we get there. Obviously, Porto's not far away, so I'm sure that will start coming up in the podcast in the coming weeks. But for this game specifically, just one thing I do want to say is that It's crazy, man. Like, all of the stuff I saw pre-kickoff was that like we have no chance and we're not going to do fuck all.
Yep.
I even on my FPL podcast, I have like regular listeners who were telling me like, "Oh, Nima, you're going to find it so hard to sleep at night on Saturday, knowing your season will be over come Sunday." And like, I just smiled and didn't even comment or put the
Yeah.
reply to them at the time because quietly in my heart, I felt confident, as you say. But what's wild, right, is that 90 minutes later, when we do the things that they say we can't do, then they tell us we can't celebrate either.
Yeah.
It's like we're fucking gargantuan. We are on their mind. They are rattled. Like Monday Night Football, finally, Carragher's come out and talked about how we basically got the best defense in the Premier League, if not the world, and that our expected goal difference is unreal. Um, like we are top team. Now, whether we have enough firepower up front is the argument. Can we go the whole way? I don't know. City have come into form with everyone fit at the right time. They've just spawned ready to compete and get another treble. So I don't know about this year, but I've always said that for me, it's about winning the big title, the Premier League or the UCL in the next 18 months.
Yep.
So I have no worries. Like Klopp is leaving. We will spend
City's
money.
charges are coming.
Yeah, City charge coming. We will buy players in the summer. But it just the sheer fact that we were in this scenario where you can't win. All the pre-game narrative was we're gonna get destroyed. And we've been getting gaslit by opposition fans into believing that we're in some top 4 battle with fucking Aston Villa and Tottenham.
I know.
And they keep telling me that we're not in a title challenge. I beg to differ. Like the points tallies and the expected goal difference clearly show that there are 3 clubs up here and then everyone else.
Yeah.
We
and
are
even
not with the everyone else. And I will not be gaslit by people into that bullshit anymore. I've had enough. Like this game against Liverpool and the hatred they came out with and the narrative they tried to spin, only to then later get the football analyst sent Carragher his notes telling him like, oh yeah, here's the stuff about what they did football wise, so you can move off the celebration topic.
I think that's the thing though. Like it's always been a case of like Arsenal are treated different, right? You see, like even Mika Richards said it like last year, and
he's not been on Sky since he said
I
that.
know,
By the
I
way,
saw
January
that, yeah.
2022.
And George Graham's famous speech, that was fucking donkey years ago. Like it's always been like that. And I think, do you know what the thing that pisses me off is when like I saw a lot of match going fans of other clubs slating us, right? And I'm not going to name names. Angus is in the chat. He'll know exactly who I'm talking about here. Match going fans really fucking laying into us, like stupid cunts that have like they've said to us before, like, oh, you're just like an Allardyce version of Bolton and stuff like that. And I think, who the fuck are you to tell us? Like, especially, let's just take me. Yeah, I've spent my hard-earned money to go into that ground. Like, football's a release for most people, right? I went fucking ballistic in that game. At one point, at no point in that game was I picturing us like winning the title or anything. Or like, I'll be honest, last April when we were at Anfield and we were winning, I started picturing us like lifting the trophy. I'll be completely honest. On Sunday, it was none of that. It was just enjoying the moment for what it was. We completely dicked one of the best informed teams in Europe. We played them off the park. And it was just enjoy the moment. And then when I see fucking Spurs fans piping up like our Sheffield United at home, Basuma had his fucking cunting kid on the pitch. What's
Third
that
Premier
about?
League game of the season, wives and children were on the pitch. Klopp pulled a hammy fucking celebrating, running onto a pitch himself.
Literally.
They did a collective bow for a fucking 2-2 versus West Brom. The Premier League account put out a tweet with a 3-minute video of Klopp's favourite celebrations days before. Like, it just drives me nuts. The Zerbi celebrates, Klopp celebrates, every motherfucking manager in this league celebrates. But when it's us, it's a fucking entire talking point.
Like, and this is like, and again, to be honest, like I could not give a fuck about the Liverpool thing against West Brom when he first joined. Because, like, if anything, I kind of get it. Like, you're trying to build a rapport with your fans and stuff. Sheffield United at home for Spurs. Obviously, I'm an Arsenal fan. I find it tin pot. But if I'm being completely honest, do I care? No. I give a shit about the hypocrisy. And when it's every other team that don't get any criticism, but then when it's us, it's the biggest thing since
last. But have you heard why, by the way?
Just if I can quickly finish, because you touched on it already. The biggest thing that wound me up is that was such a great tactical performance, and the analysis of it was non-existent after the game. And it's like
we pay subscription for that, and that was the analysis.
Bums, like Gary Neville, who got his fucking dick handed to him in his mouth when he went to Spain. Jamie Carragher, who's only known for fucking spitting at a little kid. Like, it blows my mind. And this is the thing, like, I shouldn't let it get to me so much, but when we are as good as we are and we don't get the credit for it, it winds me up so much. And
But
I would,
they analyze a 4-1 defeat or whatever, 3-1 defeat of Spurs to Chelsea, and the Athletic push notification on my phone said, "Were Spurs the real winner of this?"
yeah,
Because they
it's
played a high line with 9 men.
and
Like it's
yeah,
unbelievable. Like but just in terms of why apparently it's okay. This is wild as well. So like Carragher on Sky was saying that it's okay for Klopp because he celebrated at the last minute. What fucking minute did fucking Arteta celebrate then, you fucking prick? Uh,
yeah,
but
it's so
and it's not
stupid.
just that. Like even friends of mine and other Liverpool fans have been saying that the reason it's okay when Klopp does it and not Arteta is that it feels more natural when Klopp celebrates and it feels forced when Arteta celebrates.
You
Are
know
you
what it
hearing the
is.
shit people are coming out
It's
with?
that we've got. I don't know if he's actually the youngest manager in the league, but he's 41 years old, right? And you've got a British media conglomerate full of British pundits that are watching a Spanish person come here and fucking walk the league. We've nullified two of the best teams in the world in Man City and Liverpool to nothing in terms of the games we played against them. And
One shot each on target.
they're
Yeah.
watching this young foreign manager come here and absolutely piss it. He's 4 years into management, for fuck's sake.
His
Imagine what
first
he's
ever
gonna do.
job. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think for me, it's so crystal clear. It's bitterness, it's jealousy, and unfortunately, it's something I just had to get it off my chest because it is gonna wind me up. But
I think
unfortunately,
obviously like they're all jealous of him. I think we know that, as Mike says. Just one final data point I want to pull in,
yeah.
and then we'll keep going. So one of the things I'd seen is over the last 4 Premier League matches before the Arsenal Liverpool game, Liverpool had 45 shots on target. So
I've
just to
seen
put it in perspective.
Mike's put this in the chat as well. Where has it gone? So go on, finish off your point. So yeah, Mike's
Oh
also said
yeah,
the
so
same
that's
thing.
also he's
Liverpool
got
had
the
40.
same thing. Yeah, so they've had 45 shots on target in their last 4 games. Like this is a
And then,
team
as
that
Mike
are
goes on to
unreal.
say, we restricted them to 1.
Yeah, it's mental. And I think we said this in the preview where when we talked about the last game we played against them, I think the game at Anfield, they had something like they were generally in the last 12 games at Anfield, they were getting somewhere between 20 to 30 shots a game.
Yeah,
And against us, they had 12 or 13 at
I'm sure.
Anfield.
I'm sure I read they're unbeaten in 16 as well, or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
no, this
absolute.
was a team that haven't lost. Like they were about to go on a
They're the
17th
form
unbeaten
team in
game.
Europe. Like it's not getting spoken about enough what we've done here. But yeah, like just in terms of general game, should we go through the kind of major match events and
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
how like the kind of narratives we were feeling at the time? Because this is one that I really want to try and get across as best I can, like what the feelings was like in the ground for each moment.
Mhm.
Because I swear to God, like this season, nothing else has come close. This for me was this was like a lot of last season, but this year, as I've spoken about on this pod, the atmosphere's not been as good, but Sunday was top quality, man. So the first 15 minutes, just before we go 1-0 up, how are you feeling in terms of like how we've come out, how we're starting to play and stuff? Do you think it was a good start?
Yeah, no, I immediately felt like we were ready and on it. It just felt really nice. It felt like both Saka and Martinelli were ready to go. Like they were both just waiting. And I think the first kind of was it the Saka header
Yeah. Oh my God, that. But
when we
you
didn't
know
get
what?
yeah that one I was
Someone
like that's when I was like, okay, we're creating early.
I know we said like no standout performers, and I still stand by that. But someone who may go under the radar, and someone I've been critical of, I actually think David Raya was spot on in this game, man. Because that chance, I believe it came from him collecting the ball, aggressively throwing out to Martinelli. Martinelli absolutely bombing it down the wing. Unbelievable
That
cross. And
was the one. Yeah, that
if
was
we're
the
being
one.
honest, I think Saka should have done better, but who cares?
Because if that had gone in, people would then be, people always say they don't see much more from Raya than Ramsdale. And I think this game,
That's it.
the way he was claiming the balls,
And a
and the
short
way he was
distribution as
starting
well.
the attack, like obviously that one didn't quite work out, but it was close. And I think we're seeing that Raya can find Martinelli. He can find him
Yeah, yeah.
fast, and
Yeah.
he's finding him in space. And it's like we had no right creating a chance like that quickly against a Liverpool
Yeah.
team.
I think
This,
that's a really good point as well, in terms of like because it was such a fast start, I really think that galvanized the crowd as well because like Delia says it here, right? If I can find it. I missed seeing Arsenal playing aggressively. It was such a fucking beautiful match to watch and not celebrations. Police will stop me feeling enjoying it. Just more on the first point there. we all miss seeing Arsenal playing aggressively, but it's because no teams allow us to play that way. So I think, like we said already, because there's a team that gives us the space to play how we want to. This is how we want to play. It's just unfortunate we're not able to, but I think that really plays a part in it as well, because I was sat there in the ground and you get this adrenaline. Like, I was going mental. My throat at the end of the day on Sunday was fucked. Like, I couldn't speak. Like, my legs were shaking with the adrenaline. So I really think that played a part in setting the tone. And the Liverpool away end, by the way, absolutely embarrassing. I feel like that's not really been said. Like, and again, I don't know if it would have come across on the telly. That was a shocking away end. It's really bad. But yeah, I think the way we came out just set the tone. It was front footed. It was aggressive. The positional play was genius. And then even the move for Saka's goal, like, I'm sure everyone's seen the clips, right? It was unbelievable the
I
way
was
it
gonna say, like,
started.
that's something that, you would think that talking about that build up and the way the defensive shape built up in the formation and the way Gabriel pinged that ball to Zinchenko on the left wing, who then pinged it somehow in as well. Zinchenko looked like he was gonna lose the ball a few times, and every time he found someone. Like, the way they
Yeah.
were, like, I noticed it as well. Like, we were trying to draw them towards our goal. It's like we were trying to invite the press, and then that would leave space for us to then suddenly go at them. And it
Yeah.
felt like we were really successful at it. Like, I felt like, wow, like, these boys have matured into men. Like, they're no longer kids, a lot of them. Like, they are young, as you say, but they're very experienced young players.
Yeah. And
Very
I
experienced.
think it was just that move for me was just genius, because it was like I saw a tweet where I like jokingly said it was like quite a tactical tweet, and as everyone knows, I get fucking horny over that shit. But it was like just the way we built up, it was like a 4v2, like Raya playing a key part in that. And then it was just the way we manipulated an overload as we moved into the middle phase. Odegaard dropping into the central area where he did to give Van Dijk a headache. And then it was immediate. Martinelli was high and wide, so Kanate's on him. Trent was tucked in trying to prevent a passing lane. And then the gap just opened up for Havertz. And it was tactically unbelievable the way we just went from one shape when Raya had the ball to another shape when it progressed into the middle of the pitch, and then Havertz is in. And one question for you: when Havertz was running in, did you ever think he was going to score? Because I didn't.
Not after the first touch. It was a bad touch, I thought, and I think that touch showed how hard it can be to score when you take a touch like that and let Allison
Yeah,
prepare himself. Obviously, like, the speed at which we arrive with runners coming in and Saka there. I think this is the crazy thing. All the stuff I love from Havertz this game, all the hold up, all the chaos. It was like a weird combination of Gabriel Jesus and Ivan Tony, but like without the finishing. It's like
uh,
he had like the chaos of a Jesus, but
yeah.
then like the hold up play and strength of a Tony. So like it made me think I want someone like an Ivan Tony even less, because then I was like, wait a second, we kind of already have a lot of those qualities or attributes
I still
between
think we need
Havertz and
someone better
Jesus.
on the ball. If I'm like,
No,
I
we
mean,
want someone better, but as in I
yeah.
don't want Tony anymore. That's where
All
I've
right.
come
Okay.
to with
Good.
that.
Yeah.
Having watched Havertz do that, I now think he can do that against the tough teams
If anything, it just
going
makes me more
forwards.
excited for if we get the profile of centre forward correct. I think we're laughing, man. The way this team is structurally set up and tactically what we've got to be able to unlock different game states. And I think we'll get there with the deep block problem as well. I really do. But like if we nail that profile of centre forward, I think we'll dominate for a few years. I really do.
And I do
But
think
yeah,
we
so
will go big for that in January. I do think,
yeah.
for what it's worth, that we
You
will
mean
look
in the
to buy
summer?
him. So it's summer, yeah. I don't know why I'm talking
Yeah,
about
he
January.
says on the 6th of Feb.
On the 6th, I was talking about January 2025. Bloody hell,
But
long
yeah, so
morning.
anyway, Havertz is in, Saka
Yeah, so
scores, and
Havertz
the
scores.
Emirates goes absolutely bonkers. Like, I'm punching the guy next to me, and yeah, it's so good. And then after that, again, like, so you can see it on the board on the graphic here, like Liverpool, they were just flatlined up until their goal. Like they didn't create anything, and I think there was a little bit of us where we did lay off it a little bit, but it just felt so controlled. And I think that's the thing. Like so obviously I'd had a few beers, right? And I was like, I really need a piss. And it was getting close to half time, but I've just got this thing where I was like, no, I don't want to miss anything. And I really fucking wish I went for a piss, because the ball's trickling back, and then in my opinion, I think Saliba has to clear that. I think that's poor defending, in my opinion. I think
Yeah, it was
that's
a
all
bit
on
of a weird
Saliba.
one, wasn't it? Because there was a long distance between him and Raya, and I know there's talk of maybe Raya should have come out and claimed it. maybe they didn't communicate with each other, or I don't know if he told them take it or he said I've got it or I don't. But overall, I was like, if I was Saliba, I know it's easy to say, but like, I don't know if I'd be looking to like hold off the opponent and run towards my goal when there was like just the opportunity to just hoof it. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Maybe it was like on his wrong foot or something, or what? Maybe he heard a call from Raya saying, "Hey, like I've got it. Like just get it to me." I don't know
I
if there
just
was a
think when
mix
it's
up.
that close, to half time, and the distance, in my opinion, was not big enough. Was not small enough to justify shepherding it like that. I think just clear it, but it's right. It didn't turn out to be a big thing, right? One thing I would just want to point out on the graphic. So before 1-1, there's a big shoot in the graph of XG, like in between the 30th minute and half time. Can you remember what? Because we had a few chances in this game, and I'm trying to recall what that one would have been.
I'm just having a think. So
Yeah, it's all right. It's not that important, but yeah, I was
there
just
is, yeah, I
curious.
see what you mean. It's what this one here. The what minute is it? It's the just
In
up.
between 30 and the goal.
Yeah, in between 30 and the goal.
There's
Yeah,
like a
there's like a
big
big
shoot there.
jump, and
Yeah.
it's not the goal either. So
Yeah, I can't remember what that was. But yeah, either way, it was a mistake from Saliba, but like shit happens. He's 22, right? It's not like he does it every game. So yeah, but more again to illustrate the feeling in the ground. Fuck me, man. That goal went in and it just felt like, when you got a balloon and there's just like a little pop in it, just felt like all of the enthusiasm just seeped out of everyone. And in my opinion, it reflected in the team when they came out, because I thought after half time we started quite poorly. I don't know what you thought.
I thought we did start quite poorly. I don't know if we were adjusting to them tweaking something, and also like obviously Kivio coming in, and maybe us also changing the system
True.
slightly. Yeah, it did feel like that period. I'd say there was about maybe even a 15-20 minute period where I felt very uncomfortable until
Yeah.
we got the second goal. I felt very on edge. Like I don't think they were creating like shots,
No, but it
obviously,
was
based on
like
the shots, but it just felt like
territory
they were playing
shifting.
in our half. And I
Yeah.
remember turning to my friend and saying, "These guys are really good. Don't underestimate how few people can even play football in our third or our half, like for a sustained period of even minutes, let alone for a
Yeah.
chunk of a game." Like, we saw against that Forest game, right? Like half time, it was like 300 final third touches versus
80%
8 or
possession.
something. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was like I was like, there's not very few teams who can do that. In terms of
One thing
what it
that
could
I've
have been, so I was going to say,
oh,
I've got an idea of, I had a look at the match report, and there was a couple of moments. So there was do you remember Gabriel took a shot with his feet from the edge of the box?
surely it wasn't that.
So there was that, but then there was also Declan Rice also took a shot from quite far out. So I don't know if it
Uncle
was one
said
of
in the
those two,
chat, Saka missed header with a question mark, but
but I think that would have been
I feel like that
before the
was before the
goal.
goal. Yeah,
Unless I'm
that's
imagining,
right.
I think that was at 0-0. Unless I'm imagining it, but
That's
maybe
what I
he's
thought,
right.
but maybe it is. Who knows? But either way, it's yeah. I was just curious. It's not a big deal. But in terms of like what you say about, yeah, obviously Liverpool were kind of in control, playing in our territory, and then it was only until the second goal you felt comfortable. I actually felt a little bit more assured before that. I just thought Jorginho and Declan Rice were brilliant at kind of wrestling back control. And then it was around, when Liverpool made their triple sub, I thought it was around then that I started to feel comfortable that we were getting back in it. I didn't think we were going to score per se, but I could feel that territory and that control slowly shifting back to us. And then when they made that triple sub, I thought that's when we reacted really well to that. And that's what Arteta's brilliant at. Like, a team will proactively try to do something and he'll spot it and he'll react pretty much straight away. And then we went and scored pretty much 10 minutes after that, right? And yeah, obviously it was like a hoofball from Gabriel. Martinelli was actually down the middle, and then Van Dijk and Alisson. Van Dijk with his like nonchalant defending. Alisson kicks Van Dijk's nice chunky die, and Gabriel Martinelli just has an empty net to slot in, and
Yeah, I
Emirates
couldn't
was
believe that as
wild.
well. Like I've seen like all kinds of talk about that goal. When you watch it back, it does look like kind of Martinelli and Van Dijk are going shoulder to shoulder, and there's a little bit of a push from Martinelli, just enough so that it's a fair duel.
Yeah,
And then I do wonder if that's what ultimately pushes Van Dijk into Alisson, who's trying to get to the ball, and
yeah.
the ball just lands neatly in front of Martinelli with an open net in front of him. But one thing I saw, and I think it's a bit unfair on Van Dijk, but I just want to claim it, because
Go on.
there was this talk of like, and you see him watching the replay after as well on the big screen in the stadium. But there's been some people I think he's one of the greatest defenders ever of Premier League history, but there's some people who believe he's like a highlights goal defender,
No, I
and that
don't
he
believe that.
worries about, as in that he worries about what he looks like. So when
All
he's
right.
like making a mistake, he'll like not go in for like a full duel and
So he
back
doesn't
off or
lose it.
leave it, so he doesn't look like he like made a challenge that didn't make it, like didn't get the ball. And there's these
Nah,
talks of like
I'm not
how
on
he,
board with that.
you're not on board with that conspiracy.
Nah,
Okay. What about
it's
the other
professional
conspiracy
football.
from some Liverpool fans, which is they're saying that it was a foul from Martinelli on Van Dijk?
That's
That
if you
cracks
watch it,
me up.
Van Dijk literally pushed it
Van
like
Dijk pushed him,
sorry,
and then
it wasn't even a
yeah.
push. It was just shoulder to shoulder.
But that's what I mean. So from what I saw, Van Dijk was the one who nudged Martinelli, and Martinelli ended up being much stronger than he expected, and he kind of bounced back off him. So like Van
Exactly.
Dijk ran into him and just bounced off. Like
Yeah.
that's what I saw. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
to call
agree.
that a foul is wild. But yeah, it was very fortunate. But I think we created our own luck there. Like there was
100%. And
clearly a
like
plan, like to
that's
make them be uncomfortable, right? In these
and
situations,
that's the
we
thing.
didn't
I've
give
seen
up. Martinelli could have just stopped chasing the ball,
Do
like
you know what pisses me off? Like I've seen some people saying like, "Oh, Arsenal were fortunate to go 2-1 up." Were Liverpool not fucking fortunate to equalise?
to
They
go.
created no
Yeah, they
like
had no shot on target in the first half, and they end
where
up going in at 1-1.
I'm like, you can see I'm visibly speechless. Like it makes no sense. Anyway, obviously we got to wrap up in 5 minutes, so let's just go through the final bit. So 67th minute, we're 2-1 up. He then makes a double sub. Sorry, it wasn't a double sub. Trossard comes on for Martinelli, and 5 minutes later, Nelson comes on for Saka. They made a sub, which was Thiago on for Gomez, and just after that, Nate gets his second yellow. Lovely bit of work from Havertz, who I thought brilliant performance. I think on the ball still have questions, but in terms of his the way he physically imposed himself on that game, created them problems. They didn't know what to do with him. I thought he was brilliant. Red card happens, and then we're playing around. It's the 92nd minute. Ball goes out to Kivio, I think. He plays it into Trossard. Trossard dinks it round Elliot, I believe it was. And then, fuck me, I didn't realise Trossard's that fast,
The way that at the halfway line, Trossard just sent them both for hot dogs, and then every touch was the right touch. Like I remember
Yeah.
watching it back, and I was like, the way he got himself into that place. And again, you could argue it was very similar to the Jesus goal in the game before, like through the keeper's legs, kind
Yeah.
of.
Obviously,
And
this
and I
one's a
think
little
Van Dijk as
deflection,
well.
but
There was a small deflection off him as well, which is obviously frustrating for him. But I think they were just gassed and like mentally knackered by what Havertz had been doing to them by this stage, just causing ruckus. Honestly, like that goal, it just finally, that's when I finally felt like it's safe. I know I probably should have felt it earlier, but at 2-1, it felt still like anything could happen because they could
yeah.
turn it on, right? Like, when they came out in the second half, as you say, I think they had like the three shots they had were all in like 3 minutes. It was
Yeah.
like Curtis Jones, Gakpo, like,
I remember the Jones one, yeah.
and all of them were from like outside the box. And I remember turning to my friend McAllister had one as well. And I said to him, all their shots are basically McAllister booting it from outside the box. I was like,
Yeah.
if we can reduce them to that, I'll take that all
Chill.
day, mate. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take that all day. So yeah, I think
100%.
phenomenal work from them. But yeah, any final bits you want to pull up from the comments in the live chat before we go, or anything
Just
there that we think you
to
should
be
touch
honest,
on?
we've covered quite like there's loads in the chat today. So like everyone, thanks a lot for joining in. Sorry, unfortunately we're both working today, so we're a bit pushed for time with meetings and stuff. But obviously we had like Bobby's in. He went, for fuck's sake, you went live early. Delia was in.
We've got
Bungle,
Adam is
Mike,
here as well.
Adam, 352. Yeah,
Oh.
good. Oh, sorry, I think we clicked the same thing at the wrong time. Adam's comment, yeah, completely agree with what we said about celebration police and Carragher's lesson on comment on discipline. Jamie Carragher literally spits on kids, so I'm not sure if
I
anyone
can't
should take a
fathom
lesson
what
on
would
discipline.
drive someone to do that in the world. And Angus's comment before we go, just he is right. And I think this is the funniest part, that Liverpool fans are claiming the foul when Van
Yeah,
Dijk
Van
himself
Dijk,
in the interview
yeah,
said no, like he literally dismissed it.
literally. And like one thing I just want to end on was like, I feel like we did obviously cut this short, right? So there was probably a lot we could have done more. So like, sorry about that, but just the atmosphere at that end as well. Like, I can't tell you what a privilege it was to be there for that. It was so joyous. And I think, like I said at the start, right, for a lot of people, football was an escape. And I think to be such a miserable fuck that you have to try and tell people what they should and shouldn't be happy about when they're spending their hard-earned money to go there, it just blows my mind. And honestly, that atmosphere was absolutely incredible. And one thing I just want to say, I'm so glad we've got a culture at this football club where we've made a club photographer who's a lifelong Arsenal fan feel like a fucking superstar. And like that is, you spoke about organicness earlier, right?
Mm.
People saying bullshit like that. That's organic. Like that from Odegaard is organic. Him doing a team talking all or nothing, that's organic. I love that we've got a culture here at Arsenal Football Club like that. And I think again, it's all jealousy. People wish they were us. You look at Man United, you look at Chelsea, like all of the issues they've got. Well, that was us a few years ago, and look where we are now. So I'm just fucking glad we've got to this point where we are. And honestly, I've said this for so many episodes. I'm so confident in the next few years. Like, I really think we're going to be the team that dominates domestically and across the continent. I really do. I don't think people have woken up to what we're capable of.
I
I
feel like it's
really
just the
don't.
beginning of the journey. Like they all talk about he's been doing it for 5 years. He won a COVID Cup. The reality is, and I'm sure many in the listeners would agree, this project began 2 years ago. Everything before that was clearing out like the most
Yep.
fucking wild shit show of a club that you could arrive at.
Yeah.
The fact that we've taken our salary, I think it is, to revenue ratio from like 75% or more down to 52%. And that's like by far the lowest of any of the big six clubs, while renewing and extending contracts for everyone we want. That isn't being spoken about enough. Like,
Yeah.
this is how you run a football club. I'm sorry for anyone who thinks otherwise, but every club right now that is in their own rebuilds, like a Chelsea or United, they are trying to use us as a
I
blueprint.
really like your comment about this this project started 2 years ago, because I look at it similarly. I think sure, it's been 4 years, but it's been 4 years of building and laying the groundwork. So like we've built the mansion now, get the fucking chandeliers in now. Like that's exactly. And again, I don't know why people put these real short-term parameters around things. They're like, oh, he's been there 4 years, like he's got to win something now. Why is it people are unable to think in the future and be like, okay, we're going to look back and think over the course of 10 years, what did he achieve? And if you ask me right now, if Mikel Arteta is in charge and everything works in tangent with Edu and the board as it is now, what can he achieve in 10 years? You guys know me well enough to know what I'm thinking now. I'm not going to put it on record, but you know what I'm thinking. So I don't know why these parameters become short.
Yeah,
But
it's like these
any more
arbitrary parameters.
any more from you before we head out?
No, I think we'll be back to talk more, I'm sure, about the next game soon. So we'll
Yeah,
continue then. Yeah, I know we've both got to do a bit of a rush off today, but thank you everyone who joined in live. It was a real pleasure to see you all. Obviously, as always, if you do hit that like button, it really helps us as a channel. Yeah, subscribe if you're new around here to get
yeah.
notifications
The
when we
road
go
to
live.
300 begins.
Yeah, no, we hit the 200 milestone just before
Yeah.
the new year, thanks to all of you. So hopefully 300 next, onwards and upwards, and few big wins for Arsenal to come. West Ham away next, and we'll be back to preview that soon.
Yeah, nice one. We'll see you on Friday. Thanks a lot, everyone. Appreciate it. Up the
Come on, you
Arsenal.
Gunners.
Fuck the celebration, please.